your hosts, Lolly D and Trainer Cal.
Oh, hurrah.
Hey, Cal.
There's normally music, so I'm dancing for no reason. Oh, no, there we are. I'm not really a good dancer.
She's looking
so
around the corner.
Is it safe to come out here today? Oh my gosh, what has been going on today?
I feel like I'm going to be wiped off the surface today.
I know.
really do.
Like 2 seconds ago, I was standing back there waiting for Kevin to finish, and boop, I disappeared. So hey, we don't know what's going to happen. Hey, everybody. Good morning.
And if you're in the Soapstone Facebook page, you're going to see a picture of Kevin and Lolly merging together. I sneaked a quick picture.
You did?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I got bounced out. I was sort of like getting a hug from Kevin. Yeah. Oh, did it bounce you out too?
No, in the pub.
Oh.
He got a picture of me and OG having a kiss.
What? But you had to be having the kiss, Sturm, so there's that.
Frozen.
It was consensual. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh no. Let's not go there. Okay. So, good morning. It's good to see you. So you may or may not all know that we have had quite a morning this morning. We all woke up to no soapstone, right? Like gone.
Mm-hmm.
Quite concerning for it.
Wow, this is my
We
first time
didn't
here.
do
I
it.
didn't get it. I didn't get it.
We didn't do
my first time here.
Okay, well, this entire club disappeared this morning, which was a little concerning for us. But it turns out you know the details.
Every home of somebody, it was gone. So you got the doors in your home space when you spawn for the first time in the game. Gone, vanished.
Wow.
In the plaza or in the venue, vanished. In other worlds, vanished. Thanks, dude. We got enough sauce up here on the stage, though. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
It vanished. It vanished completely. So there was a bit of a panic because
Well, I'm glad you guys got
the
it back.
Soapstone's going through one of the biggest events of its time with the Dry Bar Comedy Show, which is on again tomorrow. Right?
Yes,
And
yes.
we're a bit worried. I was panicking this morning because Aaron was asleep. I was the first one pretty much awake, being in the UK. Sturm also seeing the world has disappeared, so I was like, quick work, I was working away, and then I was like teaching in my actual job. Then I was like, yep. How can
He
I help?
texted me. He's like, Lolly, you need to call Aaron. I can't. I'm in the UK. I can't do it right now. It was so funny.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
something
funny.
to do with me and calling Aaron. It just doesn't work because of the international dialing code. For some reason.
Well, he has him blocked, but don't tell him. I'm sorry. What? It's definitely that UK thing. That's it. That's what it is.
But yeah, what a day.
Anyway, I know, crazy day. So we are so glad it worked out that you all could be here because we have an amazing guest today, and we will get to him in a minute. But we are going to start by bringing up our very special person to both of us. You guys all know who he is. I know you know because he is somebody that is always here, always backing us up, always helping us out, and helping out a lot of other people too. Right, Cleaner Cal? Do you want to just? Yeah. So we are going to bring up.
Give it up for Sturminator.
Sturminator, come on, Sturm. Have a seat. Yes. All right. Yes. So Sturminator. Yesterday, Sturminator was a guest on my Let's Talk About It show, and we talked all about his life and his past and before he got here. We'll touch on that for a second, just so you guys kind of have a peek into Sturm's life. Sturm, tell them just a little bit about yourself before you got to Horizons, so they know a little bit about your background.
Basically, before I had an Oculus, I was just on my Xbox, right, really, and playing video games on that, and still recovering from blood cancer. So I'm free now.
Oh, just recovering from blood cancer. Just throw that right out there.
Yeah.
That was quite a big deal in
it's
your
the common
life,
cold.
right?
Like
Yeah,
it was the common
kind of a
cold.
big deal. Yeah.
18 in college, and I basically passed out 2 times in a chip shop or takeaway, and they did a
That
blood
means a
test.
McDonald's for the rest of us. Go ahead.
No, it's no, not McDonald's. Please.
Fast food, right?
fish
Fast
and
food?
chip shop.
Fast-
It's funny
fast
he
food.
says that
Okay.
because these days I pass out in the fish and chip shop. The prices are so expensive, I can't afford them. Oh, okay.
So,
I've
Sturm,
got
you
Juicy
passed
Jessica in
out.
my ear as well, and she said it's because I buy $1,500 headsets. Is what she just
Yeah.
said.
Yes, that's why.
Thanks,
That's why.
Juicy. I
Yeah,
just caught you out. Yep.
yeah. All right.
That would do
So,
it.
Sturm, you passed out. You did tests. They found out you had this condition.
Well, they
which
first
you
they found
told
I
me-
had a B12 deficiency.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
But then, obviously, the B12 things, they weren't really working, so they did another test, and then they found out I had aplastic anemia, which is like
Lord.
rare blood cancer, which is like 1 in a million.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
1 in a million. Well, you are 1 in a million, Sturm, so
Yeah.
that's not surprising. But
I've always been
unfortunately,
weird.
that was what happened. You're not weird. You're wonderful.
But
So let me
Sturm.
tell you. So Sturm had that condition. You have another condition. Tell them what your other condition is. as
I'm
well.
autistic.
He's autistic, right?
Yeah.
Which is some challenges in social settings, right? Offers some challenges up, which you have overcome in spades, my friend. You have done a great job. The reason we're telling you all this about Sturm, and we've asked Sturm to share this with you, is because of the magic that happened after. Sturm, you also still have some physical limitations because of your blood cancer, right?
Yeah, I've
you
got
have-
hip problems, so basically most of the time I spend most of the time inside my house, just like playing video games. So I thought, well, maybe I could get this, and that way I can actually socialise with other people. And now because of it, for the first time in my life, I've actually earned a wage if I moderate the dry bar.
Right. So
Amazing.
before we jump all the way to the dry bar, let's back it up a little bit. Sturm appeared on the scene here at the Soapstone, right? Like a lot of us, he shows up, he likes it, makes new friends, right? And then decides maybe he
Met
wants to be
trainer
part of our
Narkin.
team. Yeah, wanted to be part of our team, right? And you express that to all of us. And I think people know, Trainer Cal, maybe you can share with people what kind of training program. It's pretty intense what we go through to be on the Soapstone team. We put people through it a little bit, right? We do. You've got some hurdles to
do.
overcome.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so initially we said, Sturm, we don't think so, because Sturm has some social anxieties and stuff that we just thought maybe we love him around here, but maybe not on the team, right? Well, guess what he did? What did you do, Sturm? When we kind of put you off, what did you do? Did you run off and get mad at us and cancel us and say, I'm never going back there again? What did you do?
I think what I had to do was prove that I am a valuable asset. So I offered to help out, like maybe sweep up down here. Sweep all the dead crickets and all the dead jokes. Start right at the bottom, janitorial role, clean out the hot tub.
Hey, you laugh,
I was gonna
but that is
ask about
exactly
that.
what he did. He started sweeping and talking and saying cute little things, and so he kind of grew
emptying
on us, right?
Orion's trash can.
Yeah, emptying Orion's imaginary trash can, and Sturm would say, like, "Hey, I can do that. I can help with that. Why don't you guys let me do that?" Remember all of the times you would say that, and then sometimes we would look at him and go, "Yeah, we need all hands on deck." So Sturm, yeah, go do that. Right? That's what we would do. And eventually we're like, why are we punishing Sturm? Sturm is invaluable on this team, right? All of a sudden we realize Sturm is a really big part of our team. He's running here, running there, doing things, helping people. And you stuck with us, and you became such an invaluable part of our team. And we love you, Sturm. You're great. You also have found other things that you can be helpful with in Horizons. Tell the other thing. Where else do you work? Where else do you work?
I work for Cal, unpaid.
Not for me.
You volunteer for the pub.
Yeah, I
volunteer for the pub.
volunteer.
Pub. Yeah.
I am a moderator over there. I also promote the pub, like for events and stuff, and just like drag people to get people to come to the pub and stuff like that. Get it known out there. So like for instance, 17th of December we're going to be having a Christmas party. So when you
Sturm's
see the
always
event
promoting.
He is,
come on down. We're going to make this the biggest
Amazing.
Christmas party in the metaverse.
That'd be great.
We also did some. I think about doing like caroling, aren't we?
We are,
Yes.
yes. We're going to be coming past the Soapstone. We got Black Magic. We're going to the venues, the plaza. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
You guys are?
That's cool.
Right. Yeah, the pub is going to be coming in here
the
and
British
caroling
pub.
as well.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
it is.
You guys are
It's
going to
all-
come in here.
all scheduled by Stern's going to be promoting it. It's going to be led by one of my leads. It's going to be fantastic. But
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So Sturm's also doing world tours with Oculus and on your own, right? For some of the UK folks, because Oculus and you are in 2 different time zones. So he's doing that. So I guess what we're trying to say here is if you can overcome autism and cancer and being on a scooter and all of the things that Sturm has to deal with and still be a valuable asset in the metaverse, why can't the rest of us, right? We can all do that. And he found his place. He helps all of us, but it makes you happy, doesn't it, Sturm? Aren't you happy doing what? And we're so happy to have you. You're so helpful. He does research for me. If I ask him to get in touch with someone, which by the way, my next guest is one of those people, our next guest, and we're going to invite him down in a second. Sturm, move over on that couch. Because this man is somebody that I was chasing for a long time, right? I wanted him on the show, but I could never connect with him. Guess who did? This guy. He connected with him. Please welcome to the stage Must Olander from the fame of Stardust Mafia. Have him come on up. Come on, Must. Hey, so good to see you, Must. Right, yes. Yes. So we're so
far with timings. I love that.
Oh, right. And so... so Sturm here is my connection to you. That's how I was able to finally get a hold of you. You love Stardust Mafia, right? That was one of your favorite games for the longest time. You were always over there. I remember. Yeah. You made the connection for us to get Must over on our show. So we appreciate that, Sturm, very much.
Oh. Get off the stage.
Give us one minute, dude. Can you just get off the stage one moment, please?
There might be a
call you an Uber if you wish, bud.
Get off the stage.
It is, but we have some moderators that'll handle that for us. So don't worry, guys. They'll take care of it for us. Anyway,
driving taxi firm now. So that's just taking them away.
Not to worry. So anyway, Sturm, thank you for everything you do for Cal and me and the Soapstone and actually everybody. We all appreciate you so much. And thank you for introducing us to Must. We really appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Sturm. Thank you so much. Well, Must,
he just has
hello.
The applause points work for all of us as well. Thank you, Sturm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sturm.
He's
Yes, he always does that.
Generous people in this room as well. He donates, he donates and donates. I love it.
He does. He's very
all sweet. The points go to a meta charity.
He's been the only one being so persistent with me coming on it. You know, I've just been busy with this, that, dilly-dallying, but Sturm keeps me on point. Yeah.
He does. He does.
Anything else, he's just amazing to have around.
Yeah, that's another thing we didn't mention. He's perfect for inviting to Worlds if you want to check out your bugs and stuff. He has no problem spending time and working on them. So keep that in mind if you're a builder and you need someone to check things out. Yeah, there you go. So Must, my friend, we are so happy. Yes. So we are so happy that you're here today. We've been looking forward to this interview for quite a while. You had, Stardust Mafia was incredible for the longest run, and I know it's still popular, but there was a time when it was like totally king of the hill, and now you have done some other things. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about you. We know you're where are you from again? Is that England or no? I'm kidding. I know where you're from. Tell them where you're from.
Yeah, it's this question is harder nowadays to answer because I've been away from. I was born in India, spent the early part there. Then I moved to the United States, spent about a decade in Chicago, and now I'm up in Canada. Nice little valley in there, very very small town compared to Chicago and the other ones that I've been to. So yeah, at present,
and then there's
Canada,
the little microphone.
I think I'll hang around here for a bit.
Hey guys, hey.
Yes. And we talked about one of the questions I asked Must, because I'm always curious about it. You know, it's a big deal to change countries. But with ones with such different cultures, that's a big deal at a young age. You said you were right out of college to make that decision. I'm going to move someplace that's completely different. But you expressed to me a lot of reasons and what India was like. So explain maybe a little bit about that.
I think it is a challenge for some people for moving and changing complete where you're from and all your friends and family. But my parents were in the army, so we moved around a lot. So I was kind of very comfortable with just kind of moving and uprooting everything, making a new set of friends, and then with the context that I'm going to move anyways in a couple of years. So for me, that change was not that big, but it is different. Like for my wife, it is much more difficult than it is for me personally. I know. But the decision to move to the US again wasn't that big of a decision. It just felt the right one for me to make. I always felt like, things are there were just things just felt cooler when we were growing up, because there's a huge Western influence in India, throughout our media, throughout our food habits and stuff, more than I think people realize here. So everyone's like going through English medium schools, and that's pretty much the predominant middle class and upper class is going through that. So the decision to come here just felt like, oh, that's just something that excited me more than exploring other parts of India. So just felt like the right move. Yeah. So I did my engineering. I finished my engineering in India, and then I switched from it was more on the mechanical side, my engineering, but which I didn't find interesting. I was into computers. So then I moved to Chicago and I did my master's in computer science there. I finished that, took about 2 years. Yeah.
Were you attracted to Chicago because of the school, or did Chicago just like, that's a place I want to go?
I think a bit of both. I had some family there, so family felt safe sending me over. I wouldn't get lost in the in the other side. So it was a combination of that. But yeah, as the school was one of the big ones. I like the computer science department in Chicago. Yeah.
So what would you say, or maybe you won't even have an opinion on it, but what would you say when you got here that was like the biggest culture shock for you? Was there one, or were you so prepared there wasn't? Like, was there something you went and looked and said, whoa, that's really different?
I think different in a good way. The thing that I liked the most was the amount of personal space I think you get in the Western countries, and just the US and North America. There's a lot more individuality. I felt like you could express because having that personal space. India is a very communal place. Everyone's expected to do what others in the communities are doing, and that's the safe and happy part. So individuality is slightly suppressed and looked down upon, but I think that was not such a thing on this side. Of course, things are changing, and I've been out for such a long time, so I can't even relate now. But I think, yeah, that was the big part, and there were just so few people. That was amazing. India has just got so many people, so there's not a lot of spaces to that you could just be and say a beach or a park and there isn't anyone around. Just that thing I was like, oh, that's amazing that you had that, because you'd never be able to find that in India.
Now, see, I lived in Chicago. I was born there, and for me, I always think of Chicago as a very bustling, busy place. And I've been there in years either, but I'm just saying that's funny to me that you would see that. So that just tells me India is just super crowded. It must really be very crowded. I will say one thing about India. I told you before, I worked with a lady from India for a long time, and I met her family and her friends and things. And the one that was so striking to me was the friendly, like encompassing way they were embracing us. And I see that in you too. Very welcoming, kind people. And I like that. So there's that. Go ahead, Cal.
Yeah, a little too warm sometimes, but yeah.
No, I've got a tickly cough. Sorry, so I have to keep muting. I've been really poorly this week. Sorry if you hear me cough. It's not because I'm trying to get you to stop. I'm so sorry.
So, do you have a background in computers? You said the class. Okay, so your background comes from that. Okay, so were you playing games or?
I've always been really into computers. Like so games, of course, was a huge part. I've still spent way too much time gaming than I should be. I should be making games than playing games. But I still spend time games. So games have always been my way of sort of connecting, especially multiplayer games, connecting with people online. So I really feel comfortable in that space. But aside from that, I got into computers really early on. Like the first time I touched a mouse was, I think, when I was in third standard or second standard, and I just got really into it. Just when I touched the mouse and saw the mouse moving, and the connection that you can have with the digital space using your physical hand, it was just enlightening. So I started learning. So I was really into. I learned programming at an early age, and I would mess around with music production, doing some digital art design. So always from a creative perspective. But I took it more seriously after engineering to go into more sort of traditional programming and traditional architecture, computer architecture like things. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm assuming in your spare time, you must have been playing games as well.
Oh yeah,
Were you doing?
absolutely.
Okay. So what
So-
is your favorite game system, and what is your favorite game aside
think,
from all of this?
From right now, they keep changing, but at present, for the past at least 3 years, 3 or 4 years, it's been this game called Overwatch. Not if you're, I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's a multiplayer first-person shooter game. But they have different roles, and it's just a beautiful mixture of role-playing games and first-person shooter with teamwork. So it's in terms of the interactions in the games and the way the UI and everything is presented, it's beautiful. So take a lot of inspiration from those games as well. I've always been into
Awesome.
multiplayer games. So before that was Team Fortress, the Counter Strike. I play a lot of Nintendo games as well. I love the whole Mario series, all the
Yeah,
Sega stuff.
Mario.
Grew up on all
Get
of
away.
that.
Yeah.
But mostly the multiplayer stuff excites me because you can talk to everyone online while playing it, and there's a bit of like teamwork that you can have on this sort of remote thing that I really enjoy. Sort of what inspires me to make the games that I make right now also is kind of having that multiplayer interaction. Yeah.
Very nice. Very good. Thank you. What brought you? How did you get from there to Horizons?
To Horizon, yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. So right after, so a traditional computer science degree is kind of mostly traditional in the sense that you would learn about programming systems, you would learn about the applications of those programming systems on the web, on the mainframe, on mobile, and all that. So that was fun, but I was really attracted to more things that moved and interacted with me. So I got into this whole discipline of user experience design within computer science, which deals with basically designing softwares that appeal to the user's instincts, both from a perspective of everyday use, how the software is used, and also from a deep sense of what they're getting from a software. So it's a very user-centric approach. So I sort of majored in that side, and I started working with a huge multinational software company, and I made softwares for them in the space of machine learning and artificial
Oh.
intelligence for a good 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So I spent a lot of time in the research section. That's where I got introduced to virtual reality. So in 2016, something like that, I built a VR application in Unity for the Oculus. What was the headset at
In
that point?
2015?
Yes, in
It's
2015.
it's been in development that long? The
Oh
Oculus?
yeah, absolutely. Yes. The Oculus has, yeah. At that point, I built it for they had come up with a collaboration with Samsung where you could put a Gear VR phone on a Samsung thing, and that's what becomes a VR headset.
Yes, I
So I
remember that.
launched it on that. Yes, I launched it on that, and then I made it for the Oculus Rift in 2016. So spent 2 years there making this whole software. I won competitions. My company made me the poster boy until until the funding finished, because it's kind of hard to convince executives to put on a headset to
Yeah.
do analysis, right? It still is hard to do that, but at that point it was really hard. So I left that approach and I just started working on VR on the side. I started doing a lot of 3D modeling by myself until I finally took a break in 2020. When we moved up to Canada, I decided to do something different than what I was doing. I was kind of bored of making software in the traditional way. So I tried a bunch of things. I won't get into that, but I finally landed up here, where I, with a lot of soul searching, it felt like I still wanted to be in tech. I wanted to make softwares and products, but it had to be something that I was super passionate about. So that was the realization that I landed up with, and so that directed me towards games and VR. Not games initially, but just making experiences in VR because I'm a super boy of VR and what the capabilities are. Just having this kind of platform that's so immersive hasn't happened before in our lifetime, and it's just for us to be alive in this age. I feel very excited just from
Me
from a gaming
too.
perspective.
I am right
Uh,
there with you. I tell these guys all the time. Every day to me, I'm just like so excited. It's like, look, I'm talking to somebody from here and talking to somebody from there. I love
Right.
all of that. And you are a technical person, which is so much different than my point of view. So I'm curious. We read all of this hate on Facebook or wherever, not even just on Facebook, everywhere towards Horizon
Mhm.
specifically. I defend it constantly because, from my point of view, it's a community builder, it's a social platform. From your technical
Mhm.
point of view, here you are with all of your experience. You could pick any place to be, but you choose to build
Right.
here. So why? Why do you have faith in Horizons?
So I think they've got some beautiful fundamentals in place, especially from the perspective of a creator's experience. Because I'm, as a creator and as a anything that I'm doing, if I'm making music or if I'm doing art of any sort, I feel most productive and I feel most engaged when I'm in the flow of things. So that would mean that the systems are so intuitive that I don't have to think about how to use them, and I could just be productive in accomplishing what I'm dreaming about. From that perspective, it's Horizon doesn't have competition anywhere. Horizon is very good about how it's structured, building and scripting and shading and doing the texturing all in this one place, and how they seamlessly work together. So for me, I was always using other tools, and they always didn't get me all the way there. It got me like 60% there. Then you got to go to a different tool to do something. Then you got to deploy your application. You got to maintain the servers. You got to do all of that. And it just becomes like such a drag to do anything independently, essentially. You need a team of people to do things. But here, Horizon has really simplified it. And I guess that's some of these properties are common to all metaverse platforms. Is the deployment part is super simple. You don't have to manage any of that. Security about users, all of these avatars are great. So just all of these things put together, I could see myself building really high quality games, stuff that I would come back to every day as a gamer, and in a way that alone I could do it. I didn't have to depend on anyone else, and I was excited about that prospect. I love doing projects. My own projects, I like doing them sometimes myself alone, because it's kind of fun exploring all of the different thoughts that you have about something, and taking it to completion. So that's what attracted me, is that a single person could really build so much. And about the hate, about the I guess Facebook has a lot of background baggage that it comes with by
Yes.
itself. So
Yes.
so that is has to be taken into account. But just Horizon by itself, in any software, I know that there are going to be bugs eventually, and especially in a software in which other users are creating things based on your software, like user generated content, stuff that all of this is. The permutation of things that can go wrong, it just expands so much more, because you don't know how I'm going to use a particular tool versus someone else, versus how the developers thought I'll use it. So the testing is a nightmare. I completely understand it. I do wish that there was some level of stability and locking down of worlds that can that we are not linked always to the most updated version of things.
Update. Yeah. Yeah.
So worlds can stay conserved in their own place for a longer time. So I do have qualms about the quality, but I think all of it
I
is
think,
fixable.
don't you
Yeah.
think though that's
$20
part of
last
us being in a beta? I mean, do people still? I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that this is still in beta. So we're getting to watch things that we would never see on a finished
Yeah.
product. All this is always done behind the scenes beforehand. So me personally, I think it's fun falling through the floor, being invisible, having somebody show up as
Right.
an eyebrow or something. I mean, the craziest things happen in here, and I find it extremely entertaining. There's nothing, I mean, I get people like you all that have up and running worlds like Aaron, and I get that. For somebody like me, for the majority of us, we're just hanging out. So just go with the flow.
Yeah.
It's fun. So
I
we
think,
appreciate that. Go ahead.
like, having said that, with what you said there, Must, like, it's all well and good Horizon being in beta form still, and then making changes continuously. But the problem is they need to listen to the creators that build their
Yeah.
platform within Horizon. Like, there's a big change coming up 19th of December, which you're probably fully well aware of, which is going to change the way every world is going to work by simply taking away this on our stick and replacing it with the A button. Now, for worlds like yours that involve so much scripting, it's probably gonna be a big knock-on effect for you as well. You're gonna have to go in and update these scripts to make sure it works, retest again. It might even cause you to unpublish just for a small time period for you to then get it back up and running. Like, there's a lot of worlds that's going to be affected by this change. And is that something us creators were asking for? Personally, me, no. I don't know about everyone else, but it's not a change I've asked for. So how are these impacts impacting on your worlds?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. So I expressed my issues as well with it, but I think there's a difference with creator experience and player experience. So Horizon, of course, needs to prioritize player experience as in creator experience, of course. But the facts are that if we don't have millions of users coming here, then it's not worth spending time here. As I can only speak. Let me only speak for myself. Maybe as a creator who's building products and games for people to consume at a mass scale, you want to go where the users are. So I understand prioritizing player experience. But that being said, yeah, some of these changes are huge. Like this new change, it feels huge, but from a creator experience is actually not that bad as compared to the previous ones. Like when we moved from Visit 1.0 to Visit 2.0, that was a huge change where the repercussions were not completely clear, and I don't like those changes. Here at least we know what we're supposed to do, and so just so it's clear, though, we don't have to change any scripts on our side. The only thing we need to change is our instructions and help, and that right. So everything else happens behind the scene, and there are ways that you can still use those buttons. So they're trying. That being said, there are a lot of changes that happen that I feel like I don't agree with. But you have, I at this point we are kind of, I express problems, and disagreements and stuff, but there are so many forces working behind the scene about why something is a certain way. So I like to give the benefit of doubt a bit, but yeah, things like when they happen unexpectedly, I really dislike that. I feel like if you're expected to do something and they tell us beforehand, all good, then we
That's
can
it.
prepare.
And I
at
think
least.
this time round, they've learned from 1.0 to 2.0. They've learned this time round by telling us in advance, not only on an email, it's in the Discord channels, and they've really given us creators a heads up this time and enough notice for us to make rule changes, script changes, or anything like that. So it is great, and the user experience part, you're spot on. Actually, the reason why one of the reasons why they're changing that is to streamline control or the controller inputs from other games, so people feel they're in a natural environment. When they come on here, they can just click A and it does the right thing. They can do so everything's similar. And will that bring more users in? It will probably stay the same, but what it would do is keep people coming back because they're familiar. Retention, and that's the key thing. Like, all us creators, we probably look at the retention. We look at if our worlds are still busy. Is it, is the line going up or is it going down? And that's when we make changes. And Horizon at the moment, let's be honest, hasn't had great publicity. There are problems here and there. Like Lolly said, we're in beta. It's going to happen. And I think the changes now are the most crucial and important changes, which is going to form the platform for the year to come. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So so now you've come into this platform, you think it's good. How did we develop Stardust Mafia? Why that theme? What did it mean something to you? What is the thought behind
so
that?
I started sort of building first to really explore the platform. So I started with this a water balloon world. You throw some balls at people, and so I started building on throwing mechanics, and I like to build stuff that's kind of unique and not original. Nothing is really original anymore, I guess, but unique at least.
But it was at the time you built it. At the time you built it, it was. Yeah.
At the time, But so I there's a game that we used to play in India that's involves throwing and breaking a pyramid of stones, actually, and so I brought that game into VR, and I started testing it with people. So I'm, from that user experience background, I have this sort of habit of really engaging with people. At least I like to have that, frequency that I'm always testing whether something is working or not. Because if people aren't playing, really, it's not worth spending the time, at least for me sometimes. So, I tested it out with people and it didn't work out. And people have a hard time. People had a hard time throwing balls at different varying speeds. The control, the way the physics was working, it just so I dropped that whole idea of throwing games, but instead, while I was doing that, I was looking at other worlds, and I was seeing social spaces and how good social interactions are in VR, and how easy it was in Horizon worlds. So I really started digging down on that. It's like I wanted to make a social game world, sort of, and then taking that, I started looking at games that I play as outside in the real world, and one of the game was Mafia. Mafia is a pretty old game. It's like was born in '87, a little bit before me, around me. So it's and then the game was also had other parts like Werewolf is another version of it. Who knows which came first? But the whole concept is same, in which there are different roles, and you need to find out who's the killer. And there are other roles like doctors and stuff. But Among Us was an implementation of Mafia. So I wanted to do an implementation of Mafia in VR, in Horizon. So from that was the main basis. And so from there I started sort of building these mini interactions about how people are going to plant bombs, how they're going to eliminate other people, what is the environment look like, what is the user flow like. So it was all done in phases. But as soon as I got early validation that this concept would work, people, this is going to encourage social interplay, is basically what I wanted. Like, games that just give people enough tools so that then they can create the story around the game, and do improv and create these conditions in the game that change every game. I think that was sort of my focus, is that how do I make a game that's repeatable, people want to come back to, has enough ambiguity in it that every time there's a surprise element in the game.
Yes.
I
think there's something in all of us that makes us want to run. Like we get so thrilled of being chased and running. And I think, and then, the prospect that something's going to happen in the time frame. And I think that is what we're children at heart. We love that. We love to be running scared, screaming and running scared. So that comes out in us. And so that's the element, I think, of that game and a few others. But yeah, that game, I would be looking for people and they'd all be in that game always. It was like they're playing that game again. So great.
It's really interesting. It's like kind of like the reason that I find it really fascinating, and it's kind of like how Monopoly had, the creator of Monopoly had this kind of reason of why he created it, so that he could show the evils of capitalism and all of that. But all of that is kind of ignored, and the game just is fun by itself because it just touches the innate nature of us. It's sort of like in Stardust Mafia as well. Like the reason I found it really interesting, and I still hit on those points, is that we, it shows, at least for me, every time I play, it shows me how sometimes clouded my assumptions and judgments are about people, and how I quickly jump to a conclusion like that guy's the mafia because I saw him come out of there. He's sus. Yeah, but that's just one part of the story, and I just jumped to it very quickly, and then someone else was actually doing fishy things. So it's that sort of I feel like it kind of reminds me every time about when I make wrong decisions, which is a lot of time I choose the wrong guy as the mafia. But it reminds me about, I shouldn't have jumped to judgment, right? I had some bias in me or something. So that bit is always going to be in humans, right? We're always going to jump to judgment. We got to make decisions in life. So in the games, I try to create those scenarios in which you're never really clear about what it can or could be, could be or could not be. So having that, I think, is really interesting in Mafia. It's like you're never really sure what's happening, and I try to encourage that.
No, and that's really fun. And now you've created a brand new game that we've all had the pleasure of testing out a little bit. You published it just a few days ago. And what you want to tell them the premise of the game. We can get
Yeah.
into the nuts and bolts of what you did,
Right.
but just tell them kind of what the game's about.
Yeah, super quick. The game is the context in the background is that we're all kind of traders or merchants, and we are working at the back of a speakeasy bar. And so the idea is that we all get a set of stock of items. They range from gems, watches to wood, grains, anything of different value, and we are supposed to like ship those products out so that we can make money. And the person who makes the maximum amount of money at the end of the game wins. But there are lots of twists and turns in which in every round there's an inspector that it is gonna find out who's lying about what they've packed in their packages. So if you are caught with a lie, you get a penalty. If the inspector catches you smuggling goods, smuggling like a banned product when you were only supposed to put in apples, then the trader gets a penalty. So it's based off of this game that has different names. It's in the US, I believe it's called Bullshit. And in India and in Asian countries, it's called Bluff. And it's basically played with a set of cards. The game is played with a set of cards. And I took that game and I brought it into VR, and I added like these new elements of that you can bribe people, or you can have these side conversations, side deals with people. So having those elements that can encourage the maximum amount of social interplay between the players and stuff. So every game is interesting. You know, everyone plays differently in each game. You can act a certain way. So it had all the elements that I feel like had its start as Mafia, but I wanted to make a game that was not a murder mystery anymore, because I felt like I'd exhausted that a bit, and I still have ideas, but the way that the users were sort of going towards and trying out things, I felt like I wanted to touch a different category of games. So this is more,
and
of a
it's
card
actually
game
pretty
sort of-
fun. I like all the little elements you added in there. I like the conveyor belt
thank
with
you.
our package that goes. I like the stamp that says sus. It's fun to be the inspector or the shipper. Either place is fun, and the fact that it's in a speakeasy makes it fun too, because you can go stand over there with your friends and just talk. So that's fun
Right.
too. So yeah, those are all wonderful things for sure. Trainer Cal, do you have any more questions from us? Because I want to open it up to everyone else, but I want you to make sure you ask anything else you want to first.
Do you know what? I haven't actually checked it out. I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Juicy were talking about it just before we came in here. It's been such a busy week for us. And
Yeah,
what you just explained there, thank you, by the way, because I'm a sucker for rules. I don't read them, and I just wing it.
gotcha.
And Juicy, I remember Stardust Mafia, Juicy Stam, they're all trying to teach me how to play it. And the wall that you've put in there, explaining everything. I read it, or it was read to me, actually. It was read to me, and I still messed it up. So what you've just explained there, like telling me the game it came from, I love what you've done. It sounds amazing. That's going to be a game I'm going to definitely
thank
check
you.
out.
And he
Yeah,
also
check it out,
has, if you so choose, you can hit a button that puts everything on the wall for you. And you can actually, for people like me that have to know each and every step, you've played games with me before.
Yeah.
You know how I am. It's like, no, Lolly, that is not the rule. So yeah, so I read the rules and that helped me a lot. So
Yeah.
that's great. All right, everybody. You must have questions. We must have questions from us. He's been so elusive to all of us. This is our big chance to come and ask him some questions. Sturms, I know you've got something to say.
I know Stam definitely does.
Come on,
Come
Sturm.
Sturm.
Go ahead,
Get up
Sturm.
here.
So my question is, what has been your biggest challenge in the metaverse?
Oof. So I think part of that would be, going back to the sort of issues that come with a metaverse platform, is that we are dealt a certain set of cards from Meta's perspective, and you have to play within those boundaries. And I think it's, to me personally, as a creator, it's kind of fun to play within boundaries, because I do feel like once the boundaries are defined, creativity can thrive much better than a really expansive system where you can do anything you want. So I do like that, but I think it's just dealing with all of the unexpected issues that happen. So the summer was really busy. There are times that I had to like change my roadmap of things, of what I'm going to release when.
gonna leave for a second.
That's been an
I'll meet you back
issue.
out there. I just want to
The
listen
sort of
for a minute.
uneven distribution of sometimes features. I'm
Jason,
up in
you're so
Canada,
can't even hear you.
so I don't get a lot of like features that some US
I'll be right
creators
back.
do, and so because of that, I have to work around the system completely. Like I do. By the way, I'll give a little shout out. I have a second here, but I do have a Patreon page, and there've been users like Stardust players who've been supporting me by subscribing to the Patreon. So it's been more than the money. I think it's like an experiment of sorts. Like is where is the capacity of people to pay for paid experiences and a lot of time I do people are supporting me as a creator but I'm also testing whether the VIP perks that I give in my world is that enough for people to pay for. But it's a huge jump for Horizon users to take off the headset, go to the site and sign up. So these are like really die-hard fans who really like me or like the game or like the
Right.
perks. But if I had no friction between the users supporting me or supporting the game or buying these perks within Horizon, I think things would have I would have saved so many hours and so many things. So I think sort of dealing with some of the metaverse issues has been hard. Users have been wonderful. I've just absolutely no thoughts about that. But yeah, the metaverse issues is I don't know, pretty obvious thing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I can see those.
right, yeah.
All right.
Amazing.
Does anybody else have a
Matty-
question?
Matty, Case,
Maddie, come on, Maddie.
come on up, buddy.
May I have a brief build up to my question? I have been on virtual reality pretty much as long as you have, very long time. You said 2015, 2014, same era. So, I think that what you've done with Stardust Mafia, the original name of it, Mafia, the Stardust that you added as an iteration is amazing because Dmitry Davidov actually came up with Mafia in 1987 for the University of Moscow for psychology. It was an amazing thing, and since this is like Roblox for adults, when it comes to Horizon, you doing that is awesome. You guys said werewolves. Werewolves actually came out. That variation was 1997 from the Mafia game. Now, my question is, since I don't really like running around, that's why I don't play Stardust as much. Maybe not in the foreseeable future, since you said you wanted to pull away from the whodunit murder mystery. Would you ever consider, with your expertise, building a werewolf stylized game where you're just sitting around the campfire and people have different roles?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, maybe one of the reasons that I kind of built the new game, The Very Honest Shipping Company, was also to have that just a seated experience around where you can still lie and deceive and catch other people in lies, but you're still sitting around. But in your other question, I think it's a good one. Others have asked me, and I have this strange answer, but I think it's very obvious, I guess, that game from a creativity perspective, like what needs to happen, because I've played it so many times. The game about being in a center, and I think it becomes more about technical implementation rather than something new from me to find out about. Oh, what if this happened? Or so I think it was just a lack of sort of excitement for me to build something that was just like so obvious. I don't know. So that's why I add all these sort of different elements in the game, because it kind of keeps me excited as a creator to see how people are going to play with those things. But that being said, a lot of people there are a couple of games actually, but there's a werewolf game that is around a circle, and there are more than one role. So I think they've popped up a bit. But yeah, do try the new game. I think you might enjoy, since it's not a lot of running around. There's no running around mostly. But
I definitely will have to check it out. Since as an original Quest user, I was upset that they didn't transfer werewolves from Quest to the Quest 2. I was very disappointed in that. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will check that game out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you,
Maddie. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question before we wrap this up? Any other questions from anybody?
Cliff,
Okay, come on up, Cliff.
bud.
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm.
So the things that are upcoming, the let me just talk about the things that I would wish that would appear. I think I wish that there would be a lot more texture support that we could get. So being able to change the grain of the wood, being able to
Yes.
Yeah.
change the texture of the grass, but also with that, adding like a Z mapping to them, so that you can also have a patch of a simple cube where it's if you put a texture of dirt on it. I'd like to see some parts of the dirt that are also a little bit protruded, a little bit lumpy.
Yes.
So it's kind of it's about sort of mapping the texture into height map. So height mapping is really what it is.
Yep.
So I
Right.
think having that sort of thing would really pop out in these experiences and have them depth, because sometimes you just need to give the eyes enough for it to interpret it and make its own story. So
Sure.
textures are a
Yeah.
great way for it to kind of add that level of fidelity. So I'm excited about that, and I think is going to be stuff where you can import stuff into Horizon and all that. I think that's going to be exciting. But I'm most excited about tools that are inside the headset. I might be a minority in that, but I spend a lot of time in the headset, and it's very enjoyable experience. Like till now, I think I've clocked on Horizon like a good 1,400 or 1,500 hours or something like that.
Yes.
So I don't think I would be able to sort of do that on a different thing for such a long, persistent time. So
Yeah.
I wish they continue building more in the headset tools and stuff, so that we get to kind of explore this sort of VR building experience a little bit more, rather than more sort of off
Mm.
the headset and then on the headset, and that becomes like it's been done before. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to
Right.
more of that. Yeah.
Right. That was a great question. All right. Anybody else before we wrap this up? Anybody? Oh,
Peter?
come on, Peter.
Yeah,
Come on up.
just a quick question. Are there training resources out there, both either outside in IRL or inside, that are more than just what Meta provides, that would give somebody a noob more of a grasp on how to create a world that they'd actually want to revisit themselves?
Yeah, there are lots of community resources. Like there's like scripting communities and scripting events that happened. I'd be honest, I'm more of a DIY guy, so I like to read manuals. I like to read like documentation from start to end, and then just let it sit in my head and then just put it to action. But I have visited some of these community resources, and it's great because they bring out practical things to build based on the code blocks. So it's nice to
Yeah.
see how people are looking at how they're connecting the dots for the bigger picture. But so if that's your way of studying, a style of studying, yeah, there are lots of community resources. I can share with you some of them. But the
Wonderful.
manuals that we have are pretty nice. Also a little bit outdated, but they do have everything in them. So one of the things that I would suggest is, like, if you have an idea of a game, just start building it, and it might not, a version of it will come out with whatever knowledge you have, right? And I don't think you need to wait for a certain level of knowledge to be like, all right, now I'm going to build that game. So I think you should just, whatever you should just go for it, and it'll be some version of it will emerge at the end, and you can perfect it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Just a
Great.
quick follow up. Is there and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it here, but there's another similar type application on the Quest that seems to have, it's more mature as far as creator controls, but doesn't have as much of a great social environment. That has a marketplace that you can go and purchase the different in Unity store, right?
Right.
Does Meta have something that's equivalent?
I think it's making its way up to it. So there are so in terms of it, so the equivalent of that is like in-world purchases, but they currently don't support creators, as in you can't transfer assets over. But I think that the creator economy from the assets perspective has to exist, and I think they're just on their way. Just a couple of iterations away, hopefully. But yeah, right now the in-world purchases are only for perks that creators can give to their players, and not
Right,
from
but
the
it's not
perspective of
created or
creators necessarily.
advanced created or beginner created. Okay, thank
No,
you for
not yet.
your answers. They're very, very
No
awesome.
problem. Yeah.
Well, gosh, we thank you so much.
one
Do we
more
have one
over
more
there,
question?
Coach?
Because this is gonna be a
I was
last
gonna
one
ask-
because we're already kept him long enough. Come on up.
Okay. I was gonna.
No, you
ask,
come on up. Come on up.
Oh, I don't want to go all
There
the
you
way.
go.
Any spoilers or any updates for the Stardust update? Do you have any?
Well, that's a great question, Jojo.
You know me,
yeah,
I'm
so
here for the
we're
Stardust
coming up with
content.
a new season on the 15th of December. So that's going to be season number 3 for Mafia. So every season there's a new theme. So this is going to be a winter theme. So there's going to be snow, angry snowmen, a Grinch that can potentially steal your items from you. A new variable. So every season there's a new set of items that you can earn and buy in Mafia. So we'll have new winter themed items. And I'm trying to get one more secret thing in there, but I don't want to reveal it. But it might be a special kind of bomb, or it might be a special kind of role, a new role. So one of those two. Depends on what I can put my effort into in the next week. I only have a week, so better get on it. But
Yeah, well, you've been very busy. So the world is called a Very Honest Shipping Company, or an Honest Shipping Company, right?
Yes, the new world is very honest because people have to be very honest in there. But
very
yes,
honest.
Yes, it's called Very Honest
Beautiful.
Shipping Company. Yeah,
beautiful. So Sturm, how about when we're done here, you go open a portal for anybody who'd like to go check that out in the courtyard. You guys could head over and go take a look at it.
It can only hold 4 people, but yeah.
Well, it'll create a new instance, won't it? If you Yeah, they can keep going. It'll just keep creating instances, so that'll work out. So, thank you. Gosh, we know what a busy man you are. You were such an informative person. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. For everybody out there, I wanted to tell you next week we have the Kawaii Family Creators. So if y'all can come back, that's going to be quite a fun show. It's going to be the whole family, and they're all going to be here to share their experiences with us in Horizons as well. So try to come back for that. Thank you, We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Well, in the events tab, dry bar free on 3 times tomorrow, so come to all 3 if you wish.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.